Boom. Here we are. Welcome. Good morning. It is Scripting Friday here on Agent Power Huddle. Every Friday at 8 a.m., I cover scripts and dialogues that help you get the outcome you want and need with and for your clients. And today we're going to talk about how to have an elevator pitch that differentiates you, but also how to collect an admin fee up front, which is an advanced technique. You're going to learn it today, and you can ask questions at the end. So how about we dive in, all right? Let me share my screen, and we'll get started. Oh, that was weird. Switch slide decks right at the very end. Okay, so if you're new to this, my name's Ed Laine. I'm a real estate broker here in Seattle. As you can tell by the Space Needle in my background, I've been in the business since 1987. So I started when I was 2, which is cool. I've closed over 3,000 transactions and also closed over 5,000 mortgages. So I just have a lot of experience and I like to share it. So today we're going to talk about your elevator pitch. You have a value proposition for buyers that separates you from the rest of the pack. Because I don't know about you, but here in Washington, there's 30,000 brokers. How do you stand out when the group is that large, right? If your elevator pitch is empty, that's a problem. So today you're going to create an elevator pitch for yourself. I'm going to share with you mine. You can tweak it if it doesn't have everything that applies to you, or if you've got better things that work for you. But I first want to describe a concept of how I use this, because it's kind of ironic, right? I talk about things in one way and I literally do the exact opposite. But I don't mean I mislead people. I don't mean I lie. I don't mean anything like that. What I mean is if I describe things in a sequence, but then perform them in an opposite sequence, that's not a big deal, right? So I just want you to kind of wrap your mind around that, because that's part of my elevator pitch is how I say it. But then when I actually perform the duties, I do them in the reverse order, right? So when I'm talking to buyers, I talk about how I have an off-market system. I lead with that. Why do I lead with that? Well, because 30,000 brokers are all looking in the same database, or oftentimes I'll say they're all fishing in the same pond. But I'm different. I have access to that pond, but I also have the entire ocean available to me because I have an off-market system. And we've covered the off-market system in this meeting previously, so you can watch that video, how I do it, why I have access literally to every house in America. No kidding around, right? Like, that's the ocean. But in my marketing, I lead with off-market system because at the end of the day, we're still in a limited inventory market. It is by definition a seller's market. Now, we're in, today's August 1st, 2025. It's behaving like a buyer's market, which is really unusual. I mean, I've been in the business 38 years. I've never seen a market like this. And I describe it to sellers as a surreal market because it's a seller's market by definition, but it's behaving like a buyer's market. That doesn't happen very often. The other dialogue I use a lot is, it's the first time in my career where you can sell in one market, but buy in a different market. And we'll cover that dialogue next week, but that's the market we're in, right? So when I'm talking to buyers, I want to lead with the fact that I have an off-market system. On top of that, and this is where it may not apply to you, but it definitely applies to me, I have access to REO and short sale properties in a pre-market status. What do both of these bullet points kind of scream at you? A buyer doesn't have to compete. There's no multiple offer situations on off-market properties. There's no multiple offer situation on a pre-market REO, right? We also can search expireds and cancels. That's a step that every broker has access to, but very few even bother, right? And then I also have the pond, right? So the dialogue is really straightforward. I went through slowly to break it down, but the dialogue is easy. When I'm talking to somebody and I want to give them my elevator pitch for buyers, I say, we have an off-market system which allows us to give you priority access to off-market properties before they ever hit the MLS or the internet. Do you see how that would help you find a good deal? And that last section, do you see how that would help you find a good deal, is very important, because they sound stupid saying no to that, right? And they don't want to sound stupid, so they say yes. So you're getting them into the affirmative. These are foundational NLP skills, right? So differentiate yourself with your pitch. Hey, I have an off-market system that will allow you to get priority access to off-market properties before they hit the MLS or the internet. Do you see how that would help you find a good deal? Yes. Great. When's a good time for us to get together so I can take down your exact criteria? That's it. Appointment booked. Right? Now, when I'm actually working with buyers, I do it in the reverse order. I start with the actives, right? Why would you do it in reverse order? It's easier. Start with the low-hanging fruit, right? Active listings are searchable. The commissions are built in, at least in my market. I know with the NAR settlement, a lot of your markets don't have the commissions in the MLS anymore, which I think is idiotic. We're all about transparency here in Washington. And God bless the Northwest MLS, because they told NAR to kick rocks. They said, we are not going backwards. We are not removing the commission. The seller has the right to not promote a commission, but it's going to be disclosed if they are, right? So that's why actives are the first place you're going to look. And that's what you already do, right? I'm not saying change that. But then if you can't find it because we're in a limited inventory market, search the expireds and cancels. Why are they second? Because they're just as easy to search. The only difference is it takes one extra phone call, right? Because I need to call that seller or that agent, depending on what your MLS rules are, and say, is your seller still interested in an offer? If I were to bring you a market value offer, would your seller consider it? I use the word market value because I don't want to say full price or anything remotely indicating that it's going to be your asking price, right? But market value may not be what you listed it at. In fact, that's a different dialogue. I often tell sellers, the list price and the market value are rarely the same number, right? So anyway, one extra phone call is needed on expireds and cancels, but that's it. Because the seller may have been listing their home for a job change and then the job fell through. So now they don't want to move. They're just going to tell me no. But if it failed to sell because they were overpriced or mismarketed or whatever, they still want to sell, right? Then if you have access to REOs and short sales, which my team does, pre-market REO and short sales, right? If your interest and criteria match our inventory, we're going to tell you about it, and you're going to be able to get into these houses before they're ever listed. That's a benefit, right? Now, is there abundant REO? No, of course not. But at my peak in 2011, I analyzed it, and I had 205 listings active at the same time in 73 different cities. That's a worthwhile inventory, right? Today I only have 10, but that number has gone up in the last 12 months and it's going to continue to go up. So REO and short sales could be making a comeback, right? I've already closed 10 REO this year. So it's my biggest year of REO since probably 2013 because the moratoria and a lot of reasons, right? But think about your market. Maybe there's a different thing. Maybe you've got a stable of investors so you can pitch that, right? And then lastly is the off-market system. And why does it last? Because it costs money. If you watch that other video, you're going to learn we use direct mail to find homeowners that would be interested in selling but are not listed. And I get into the whole methodology of that and even what the letters say that we send. So watch that video. It's very effective and you can implement it today in your market if you want. So just go to theagentcollective.com, find the Agent Power Huddle, scroll back. I think I did it maybe a couple months ago. But if you can't find it, talk to somebody within the Agent Collective. They'll share a link to you, right? So that's it, right? We market from the bottom up, but we take action from the top down. Pretty straightforward, right? Who would like to get paid an admin fee at the beginning? Step one, make sure it's allowed. It may not be legal. I don't believe it's legal in all states. So check, right? Also check with your firm. Make sure they're okay with it, right? Then when you're talking to your buyers, explain that there's just a small fee to get started and it's used to fund the off-market system. That's it. Because the off-market system I mentioned is direct mail, that costs money, right? You can usually get the price per letter down under the cost of a stamp, a freedom stamp, right? Which I think today is 74 cents or something, by using the every door direct model, which just means have a minimum quantity of 200 or more. So again, watch that video. You'll learn all about that. But that costs money, right? So I'll collect a fee up front. And then if you want to, you can also say this fee, we will build it into whatever offer we write and we'll get the seller to reimburse you for that. And we'll just get an extra closing cost credit from the seller. Now, can we do that every time? No. You can in this market though. Remember that surreal part I was talking about, how it's behaving like a buyer's market? That's the opportunity to get closing costs, right? So how much is this admin fee? Oh, I typically get $595. So basically $600. I've even got as high as 1,000. But here's my advice. Once you confirm that it's allowed in your firm, pick a number that's in the vicinity of underwriting fees, right? Lenders, I was a lender for 30 years. We call them junk fees, right? Processing, underwriting, whatever it is, it tends to be just under $1,000. So play around with it. It's your call. It's your prerogative. Your consumer's going to tell you whether they're willing to pay it or not. But you don't get what you don't ask for. So ask for it. Make sense? That's it. Pretty straightforward today. I think one last thing I want to mention to everybody is I've created a custom GPT, and you can go to whatwouldEdSay.com and ask it anything, and it would tell you what I would say. And the knowledge base is basically these Friday meetings for a year. I've just pulled them all in there. So maybe we can do some training on how to train the custom GPTs. One thing that I'll caution you though is you do have to have a ChatGPT account in order to open it. It can be the free account though. You don't have to have a paid account to get to it. And if you can't find it, or if for some reason that won't open, because I've had a couple people struggle with it, just go into your ChatGPT account and type my name, and you'll find a couple of GPTs that I've created, but one of them is expert scripting. Okay. That's all I got for you today. Look at that. We banged it out in 17 minutes. So I hope this was valuable. I hope you can implement it in your business to differentiate yourself from your competition and maybe collect an admin fee now and again. All right. So everyone have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for watching the video. Take care.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.